All right, Bob Chick here. We are at the Tampa Pro post show. Just got off the stage literally a few moments ago. David Bay along with Peter McGuff. Peter, we just saw a new champ crowned, Al Auguste, as the predictions went in the winner's circle.
Yeah, he looked terrific. He will be a factor, I think, in the 212 showdown. I mean, you've got sort of Flex Lewis, the incumbent, and Jose is fast moving. And they're both sort of power guys. Here's a guy with shape and muscle bellies. He'll give a different option. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I think he'll be very competitive in that lineup.
Absolutely. Al Auguste looking great in there. He gets the nod from the judges. Right behind him and not too far. I got to give him credit where credit's due. Alejandro Cabronero looking good also.
Yeah, he came in here last year. I think he got 10th or 11th. So I actually picked him as a dark horse last year. He was a little bit flat, a little bit off as far as conditioning goes, but he really brought it this year. And as I had said on the forums, I think the guys who are fans of that classic look are really going to like Alex Alejandro. But his conditioning was good. He could still be maybe just a little bit sharper. But if he can put on 7-8 pounds maybe somewhere in that ballpark and bring just a hair sharper conditioning, he's going to be winning these 212 shows.
Well, he's got some room to move up into that class. Obviously, he wasn't at the top of the list in terms of weight, so I agree with you on that. Peter's assessment on Al Auguste at the Olympia, David, you agree?
Yeah, he brings a good point. You have all these different looks at the Olympia. You have Flex Lewis is kind of a good combination of everything. Jose, your freaking bearded lady, as he likes to call himself. Eduardo Correa, just another kind of freak. But, there's not a lot of just real pretty physiques in the 212. You have Aaron Clark, another kind of nastier, real grainy physique. Samuel Haddad, a little bit more aesthetic than some of the other guys. But Al's just going to bring a different look. And the 212 Olympia is just going to be, this 212 class, people complain a lot about all the pro cards being awarded, and I'm definitely with some of the guys that in certain divisions, certain shows, there's too many. But I don't think you can overstock this 212 pond because it's like we see these shows, and when the 212 division first came out, even to a few years ago, you get these 212 lineups, and everybody's like, if Jose and Flex Lewis aren't there, nobody really cares. Now you're getting these 212 lineups where every single show you're having some heavy hitters show up, or at least guys that are coming in and really bringing it. So I think Al's going to be a fine addition to the Olympia, and I think the 212 division, including guys like Alex, is just going to keep growing.
Well, I got to be honest, Peter. The 212, I don't think it's for lack of pro cards that we see participation because, let's face it, 6 out of the 8 classes in men's bodybuilding are eligible for the 212 in terms of weight, including some of those heavyweights that can bring it down a little bit. So I think the talent pool is out there. It's just a matter of getting them out. But I tell you what, the 212s always bring it when it comes to conditioning.
Yeah, I mean, even in the Olympia, we see the open class, we've got 15 great guys and maybe 4 or 5 come in shape. The 212 guys, they go right down the line in shape. I mean, whether it's something to do with having to make a weight limit, I don't know. Could be, but, that's got its own pitfalls as well. But, yeah, it's quality in the 212s.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, John Meadows, also a big hats off to him. 3rd place here, top 3. He couldn't have been more pleased. I think next to Al Auguste, he was probably the happiest guy on stage with a top 3 placing. So congratulations to that top 3 into 212. We'll see Al, of course, on the Olympia stage in Las Vegas. Peter, into the figure finals, it was Antatoni in the winner's circle as we predicted, but it did not come without a fight.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously got the experience, the class, the pedigree to be in the pole position there. I still come back and say, Shanique Grant in 5th place was sort of overlooked. I think she should have been standing next to Anne at some point. Probably been the same result, but it was. She's 19, 20. She's got a lot of potential. We'll see more of her, in the future.
We definitely, absolutely will. Of course, she's got a bright future ahead of her. 19, 20 years old. I mean, you got nothing but time in her hands. But 2nd place finisher, Joan Tanaka-Smith. I tell you what, there's more than a handful out there that thought she could have been in the winner's circle.
Yeah, I had Shanique somewhere in the top 3. So, I'm not going to throw my hands in the air and start, tearing things up that she got 5th. But I would have had her in the top 3. Now, that being said, I personally think if I'm picking the top 3 and I pick Shanique and Ann and Joan, and you flip-flop them anyway and pull names out of a hat, I'm not going to be upset with any of those girls in the top 3. Sure. Joan had a really small waist, really good quads. She just got her pro card at the end of May at Junior USA's. She took the overall there. But, yeah, she looked fantastic. So a really good pro debut for her. I think, she can tighten up just maybe a little bit. Obviously, the judges like her look. There's a chance we could see her at the Olympia yet this year if she decides to do one of the upcoming shows.
Physique-wise, I agree with you, David. I think you could have flip-flopped those 3 in any position. I, too, would have had Shanique a little bit higher. That being said, I think the difference when it came down to it between Ann and Joan was presentation. And we talk about that all the time in bodybuilding, but in figure it's just as important. And you can see very seasoned veteran on the stage, very poised, very confident in her poses. Joan, a little bit shaky with some of the pose. It didn't look like it was her first pro show, not to take away from her. But you could see a difference in polish and all that. And, of course, with more shows under her belt, she's only going to get better and better.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, even in men's body, any of the contests we see, you have to project yourself. You have to look like a winner without being cocky and arrogant. You have to come on and place yourself. And Anne did that. Joan will learn to do it. I was impressed with the fourth place girl, Diana Sinead. She looked like, I often look at the girls and think, who would have put on the cover? And she would be one of the main candidates. She had this real striking look, sort of a Cleopatra look at some point. But I don't know a background or how many times she's competed, but she caught the eye. She will catch your eye.
Probably Egyptian.
Yeah. Well, she trains with the pyramid system, So.
Oh, look at Peter. That's a good one, David. Write that one down. Excellent, Peter.
Like, you keep feeding them, Bob. I'll keep hitting them up.
Absolutely. Well, to tell you what, that was a great class. Also, great competition here again in Tampa with over 200 athletes. Nice to see numbers, but it's even better when you see depth. David, moving on to the men's physique in the winner's circle.
Brandon Hendrickson. We predicted him in our preview video the other night. He got put in front center all the way through the callouts. He was at New York earlier on this year. Looked really impressive. I mean, he's one of these guys. Peter had talked about. He's again, we got to talk legs, but he's one of these guys who's probably 15 pounds away from doing good in the 212 division. He was a little bit too big at New York. I know his coach. His coach is a Midwest guy, and he talked, hey, we're going to downsize him. He hasn't trained chest at all since May, so he's taken 2 months off that. Good problem to have for a guy who's lifting weights. But he downsized a little bit, kept his conditioning, if not tightened it up a little bit. And I think he looks great. A lot of people are going to dog the men's physique guys as long as there's a men's physique division. But he looked fantastic as far as I'm concerned.
I thought he looked great too. I thought it was an easy pick for the judges. It was. I don't want to say it was a runaway, but I mean, it was to me it was a decisive 1-2. Is that a physique that can do damage at the Olympia, Peter? I'm with David on that. He is literally borderline bodybuilding men's physique, but I think he's just on the left side. Can that do well on the Olympia stage?
I think so, because I think, maybe the front runner for that class at the Olympia is maybe not the defending champion, but Sadiq. And Sadiq's a big guy himself. I mean, he's done this thing with Zane. He's bigger than Frank Zane, so he's bigger than Mr. Olympia.
Well, Frank's like 70 now, but...
Well, I'm talking about Frank Zane, who runs the cobbler shop in Nottingham. So, anyway, so Andrew Ferguson was second. He's pretty good. I would have maybe had the Giovanni
Paula.
a second. I thought he had a...
He looked good, too. That's the best I've seen Giovanni in some time, and he's been at it a while now, a veteran of the stage, but he's always just that shade off, and he finally nailed it. Best that I've seen him, so good for him.
Yeah. So this class is getting to that point where do we see somebody marked down, thrown out, disqualified because they're too big? There were some really big guys in that class, bigger than the winners, and they were, like, you put them on a bodybuilding routine, and they'd be very competitive.
Absolutely. Well, always that fine line there that's going to separate the men's physique and the bodybuilders. But it looks like a good finish for Brandon. We'll see him on the Olympia stage, of course. And I'd be remiss, David, if I didn't mention women's physique. I am so happy. My girl, Mindy O'Brien, in the winner's circle. I'm so happy for her. She worked really hard for this. She needed a win. She didn't want to point her way there, although she would have taken it if she got it. But she wanted that win, and she got it here. I thought it was well-deserved.
Yeah, Mindy looked really good here. She looks good every time that she comes out, and she was really on here this weekend in Tampa. Her posing routine, for those of you guys who aren't familiar, and some of these routines because of video rights, we try to explain that to you guys, but because of video rights, USA Muscle has it. We can't post videos of her routine. But she used to be a fitness competitor, so she does kind of like a hybrid fitness like physique routine where she's hitting poses, but she's also doing some cartwheels, some handsprings and stuff like that. And she does it to some slower music, so it's really artistic. And I mean, I don't care whether you like bodybuilding or women's physique or anything. If you're a fan of posing and artistic presentation, it doesn't get any better than Mindy.
Yeah, well, she's a top Olympian. She's a former top Olympian in fitness, so I mean, you expect that from her. But there was a few good routines, Peter. Marnie Holly also must have obviously a background of gymnastics or that type of thing, because she did another fantastic. Jen Luwaji, another great routine. So I mean, you really see the girls really bring a lot of artistic and presentation into that. We're going to see Mindy O'Brien on the Olympia stage now. Again, Peter, we're women's physique still finding its way in that. Where does that physique fit in the Olympia? I believe she was at the Olympian place in the top 6 or 7 last time out. Can she crack that top 5?
She's got the potential to do it. I mean, she might look a bit different at the Olympia, might be a bit sharp or whatever. But Julia looks, if she comes in, that's the standard now. She's not as big as her. But going back to the posing, the women's physique are leading the way in how to pose. Both David and I commented on what Alicia Mesa. That routine was out of this world. You couldn't do it justice in words. You have to see it. Was it Legends of the Fall she posed?
Yeah, it was from the '90s Brad Pitt movie, Legends of the Fall.
You would know that.
Well, no, I did. I have my Shazam app, so when the music comes on, Peter and I were both looking at each other like, this is fantastic. So I'm on my app trying to figure out where the music is. You can kind of tell it's movie theme music, but Peter really nailed it. Like explaining, I could do all the explaining and try to tell you what she did, but unless you watch the routine, and that's kind of the one of the pleasures we get of being in the position we're in, you really can't appreciate it. And from a fan standpoint, like with Mindy's routine, it was absolutely fantastic. Can't say enough about her routine, and it was a pleasure to watch.
Well, some great physiques in there. Sharonica Henton also looking good in that lineup. Peter, but at the end of the day, the big talk, other than Mindy O'Brien winning, of course, was the big call-out, sexual chocolate, Jennifer Hernandez, little Hercules herself coming out there. That was good.
That was the long and short of the contest.
Hey-oh, Peter, 2.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great call. You called it, not the judges. And we've talked about this before. Sometimes the press or somebody else should be allowed to make a call just for the photograph. That photograph will go viral. I mean, what's the difference in height? A foot?
Well, yeah, Jen's my height. She's, God knows, she's got to be 6'1" or 2 or something around there, but she's huge. And the other girl's about 4 foot tall. Literally, I think she said she was 4'11", but I'm not buying that one. That's so yeah, it just seemed like the thing to do. But I like call-outs like that, Peter. Just have a little bit of fun with the audience and all that. I mean, they got a 2 feet in height difference. So I thought the audience got a kick out of it, though.
They did, and kudos to you for taking the lead and making it happen.
Yeah, that's what I do, Peter. Some fun out there, Dave. You can't be all business at these stages.
No, it was a lot of fun, and and I think the judges kind of took a step back for a second when Bob said he was going to do a call out. I caught a little bit of heat online. I said, Jennifer Hernandez, she's got to be 6'2". I mean, she's tall. And I was just saying, I think being that tall, and it's one of the things I talked about in our video, is I think it's almost at some point a disadvantage. Now, she places well in all her shows, and there were some people taking some jabs like, what's wrong with being tall? But it's like, it was a lot of fun when you see the difference in height with that. I think, when you see overalls at like nationals or USAs, and you get the super heavyweight who'll come up and hit a front double bicep behind the bantamweight, and those guys are just having fun on stage. I mean, that's the sort of stuff that the fans really appreciate. It takes an extra 5 minutes. It makes just a night and day difference as far as the attitude and the fun for the crowd and stuff. So, for as much as I hate to stroke Chickarilla's ego here too much, it was a good.
That's okay.
Good call out.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's all right, David. You know what? We have a lot of fun here at Tampa, and it's a lot of great action coming tomorrow. The NPC takes the stage tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m., and then, of course, the rest of the pros coming on at noon tomorrow. Peter.
And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Tim Gardner. I love this show because it's got such a family feel, grassroots, and it all comes through Tim, him and his crew. I love it when they talk to the athletes and say, this is your day. We're here to look after you. You must tell us how you feel and what you want. We've seen shows where that's not always the case. This is a real fun show to attend in every way. And, it goes through to the competitors because of the women's physique girls were all joking and with it on stage. And there was no animosity, and it's great to see.
No, it is, and you're right. It comes from the promoter first and foremost, Tim Gardner. Anybody that knows Tim knows he's a fun-loving guy, loves to have a good time, loves to do karaoke. He's a nut, and we love him for that. And it truly is a family affair. As his daughter Rachel was on stage giving out trophies. His son Brett's in the back. He does the music and also plays guitar. Sometimes he does the national anthem. Jake and Crystal Wood here with their daughter Legacy, who sings the national anthem. Yeah, she kills that every time. So, but Rondi Riley in the back, her husband Sean, Carla Salati, who's on the stage most of the time, Rich on the other side of the stage, moving people around and shaking. kudos to all those guys, again, because without them, it makes my job especially a lot harder, and it really does make for a family feel, Peter. So thanks for making that mention there for Tim Gardner and crew. Tomorrow, 12 noon, the pros take the stage. As we mentioned before, bikini, women's bodybuilding, men's bodybuilding, and, of course, our fitness pros all taking the stage tomorrow. That happening at noon, so we'll be back tomorrow right here. Of course, stay right on the pages of MD. We'll have up-to-date action and, of course, our predictions tomorrow for all the finals. That's going to wrap things up here in Tampa. For David Bay and Peter McGuff, I'm Bob Chick. Until tomorrow.